form evolved at a time when the only way you heard music was to go to a concert where it was being performed. So composers wrote large works, that were performed when there were orchestras assembled. Now, you hear music all day long, unless you go to the trouble of finding a place that's quiet and turning off your radio. And so we are so inundated with sound that the necessity to have these large works is not the same as it once was.
In the old system, the patron system, Bach worked for, at the pinnacle of his career, the town of Leipzig. And it was the town that was paying his wages, and he was serving them with a very prescribed set of kinds of music that he had to provide for the operation of the town and the church. Mozart didn't play that game as well, but the system was alive and well in his time. Haydn certainly did at the court of Esterházy, where he had his orchestra, he had his singers, he had all the help in the world that anybody would need. But he wrote new music day in and day out. But he wrote it for an audience to appreciate. And if they didn't like it, he would have been out on his ear very quickly.
200 years ago, all concerts were new music. I mean, it was more common to have new music concerts as opposed to concerts that just simply repeated previous material. And it was the highlight of, to hear a new work, to see what this artist was creating. And now it's major arts, like the Philharmonic, they get nervous if they have to do new music concerts on their regular subscription series because inevitably the ticket sales are below normal, and so it scares them.
Contemporary composers have alienated the audience. We are in a period of transition and the world is fixed. So the point is, if you tell the audience about that, they don't want to know what they're being told because they cannot relate it to their ordinary lives. Mm-hmm. If you talk to them about violence, they're not going to want to hear it. They know it's there, but they don't want to be reminded of it at dinner time. They want to look at some dopey show which is going to tell them everything is all right, and the world is going to be cleared up in time for the commercial.
We live at a time where it's hard to get noticed, and I think most people get noticed by being very different and being very outrageous, rather than being very good and very communicative. And so I think that this has caused a lot of wasted energy. I think that artists have to be encouraged to follow their own heart and not be intimidated by the necessity that the culture places on them to be outrageous. I think audiences have to be educated to speak up, and not to be intimidated if they walk into a museum and see a work hanging on a wall that they don't understand. They ought to not immediately think that perhaps there's something wrong with themselves and deficient in their education. Perhaps the artist missed the point.